Okay, so in this video, I am going to be explaining um, two things. Why trauma turns you gay, and why getting molested is traumatizing. So those are the two topics that I'm interested in right now. Gonna have a chicken parmesan while I explain my theory. Okay, let's start with the chicken parmesan. This is warm. Hmm. So I've been really interested in the topic of trauma last few years, and I wanted to understand two things. Uh, what causes the eroticization of trauma, and assuming that getting molested is traumatizing, what what about that causes the trauma? Like why would that be um, lifelong disturbing? That's basically what I wanted to figure out. Because, like, we could also talk about rape, but let's just minimize it. Let's talk about getting molested because, yeah, on first glance, it doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't really make any sense why getting um, touched in an erroneous part of your body um, would disturb you. So it is a good question to ask. And I think that since you're getting like a really big increase in pedophiles like trying to get their ideas out there, I think that someone should at least try to respond intellectually to them because it's not really productive to um, just react emotionally to them. So here's my theory. Okay. um, a human is a system that wants to reproduce. um, I mean, like, think about it. Like, the whole purpose of our lives is to either pass on our genes or pass them on indirectly, right? So once you get past your prime, then you become nostalgic and you want to, recreate the conditions that led to the happiness in your life, and so you try to enforce traditions, right? You try to pass down your way of life to your grandkids and so forth. But for our purposes, we're only interested in the direct path, that is through reproduction. So humans are a system that want to reproduce. Okay, and this is important um, if you've ever studied George Zipf, because Zipf allows you to really look at systems in an abstract way, that is through effort minimization. And hold on, just got out of the shower. Mm. If you ever have to like heat something up in the microwave, always set it to like 50%, like 50% power. Just don't ever set it to 100% power because it'll distribute the heat a lot more evenly, even though it takes a little bit longer to go through the microwave. I really like Italian food, but I think people just soy over it too much. Like pizza, who the hell wants to eat pizza? Pizza's it's like cardboard. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just like, and I don't even like to use the word mid, but pizza is like the most mid thing ever. I really think, unless it's like done right, it's made in a restaurant. Um, most pizza I've ever had is really mid, and like the tomato sauce is just like I'm not really a big fan of marinara. Like I really like, I like penne alla vodka, and I also really like the cream sauces. I think penne alla vodka though is the best. So basically, George Zipf was a disciple of Pareto, and he basically explained, why Pareto distributions appear everywhere. In other words, why you have forces of unification versus forces of diversification. For example, when speaking, we use many short words that have many meanings and few long words that have highly specific meanings. That's an economical distribution, and it's because um, that kind of distribution is economical. It saves effort over the long haul, right? There's only a few situations where you need a longer word to get specific, but there are many situations where you just need like a little differentiation to communicate a very common idea. So these all systems are highly economical, and you find forces of unification versus diversification everywhere. So like you have few big cities and many short towns. Sorry, many small towns. It's found everywhere, and all the decisions that we make are highly economical. All of our decisions are intended to minimize the total average amount of work. And we also try to um, distribute this work over time. We try to spread it out over time, not do everything all at once. So, like if we have a big fire, big pit of firewood, big pile of firewood, stacking all of it all at once is just not economical. So we try to do a little bit each day, you know. And so ZIF is important because you can look at systems, as I've said before, in a very abstract way, which is through effort minimization. And so when you're looking at a human as this system that wants to reproduce, well, it does so in the most economical manner possible. Now, we cannot reproduce all the time. So we try to um, get resources that we can later use to reproduce. So most of our time spent on Earth is spent gathering these resources, and there are a few moments that we spend where we release these resources, right? And we try to capitalize on a fertile woman, and we try to make a baby with her, and so on. Now, since humans are a system that wants to reproduce, this means that deep down inside of us, that's what we want to do. We want to have sex. In other words, when you want a chicken parmesan, you really want to reproduce. But the chicken parmesan is just in the way. The chicken parmesan is a problem that needs to be solved before you can then reproduce. And so what happens when you're traumatized is that oh let me get back a little. I'm not really good at public speaking. So if so let's talk about lust, okay? When you break down what actually is, lust is just like pure desire. It's like I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Right? Like when you're in the middle of making a baby with a lady, with a very special lady, you're not thinking rationally, right? You're not there's no logic. You just sort of collapse into this like wanting state where you just like really, 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 really want something. You really, really, really want her beautiful eyes. You want her gorgeous personality. And so lust is basically just this want, right? It's a want. But since we cannot reproduce all the time, we divide our want, our lust, into sub wants, into things like hunger, boredom, um, loneliness, greed, jealousy, and that's those are the wants that we use to get all the resources. Now, what happens when you're traumatized is that um, the want that was experienced in that situation, for example, wanting comfort when you're being abused, that can get repressed, that can get censored and internalized to where the original unmet need is forgotten. You don't really remember what happened to you. And so the unmet need gets decontextualized. And what happens is that it peels back and reveals your true desire, which is the lust. And so that's where homosexuality comes from. That's where cuckoldry comes from. That's where pedophilia comes from. In my case, I was a cougarist. Um, you know, it, I mean, you got to ask yourself like where masochism comes from. It's clearly traumatic, but you got to explain that, and that's my explanation. So that's the eroticization of trauma. Now we can talk about getting molested because this relates to that idea that I had about a human being a system that wants to reproduce. I don't like to slurp spaghetti. It just seems uncivilized. Hmm. Actually, hold on. What what am I doing here? Is chicken parmesan a real Italian dish, or is that like an Italian American thing? Because I know in Italy they don't really eat like pizza. Been really fascinated by Italians and Italian culture. Also been obsessed with New Jersey lately. Um, I suspect the reason why New Jersey is the way it is probably because of all the Italians there. Because Italians, look, I'm German. Germans care about order. Italians care about what's important. So my manager Gene, who's this like Italian guy, when he comes into the factory, um, and he takes over my job, he creates chaos because he cares. What he cares about is getting those parts through the machine as fast as possible. Wants to get those orders right at the door. That's what's important. But in the process, he's like really blindsided to everything else he has to care about, like keeping things clean, mopping the floors, um, like actually like making sure all the parts go in properly, right? That's my focus. My focus is on, yeah, getting the job done, but doing it correctly, you know? And so when I come in there and I see him, oh my God, it's just chaos. And that's what you find in New Jersey, it's chaos. Listen, I did some research on the history of the like Italians only make up like 20% of the state, but clearly their influence is felt there, even if they might not have overseen all of the construction of the roads. And I kind of feel like they must have had some hand in it, because you just drive through there and it's just total chaos. Especially like the Lincoln Tunnel, and I visited a friend over there recently, and oh my God, I can't imagine living in New Jersey. I mean, just the texture of life is just so rough. Mm, mm. Do you guys find this relaxing? Because I know there's like a whole genre of content where you just watch some Asian person like, eat snails or something. I can't imagine finding that relaxing. This is relaxing for me though. Hold on. It's just too much on there. That's also why Italians they tend to vote Republican. They don't really like political correctness, and it's also why they're really bad drivers. Because think about it, like when you're driving, the whole point is to get from point A to point B. So they don't really care about the details. And you can even see this code reflected in like postmodern Italian design, like Memphis Milano, um, Alessi, Olivetti. Like they're making this really strange abstract furniture, and the reason is because they're really concerned with this question. What's more important, form or function? There we go. Now I'm using my hands, getting to be an Italian boy. Now I actually figured out why they do the hand gestures. Um, for this, you actually need to look at Bill Gates' work. Concepts require two objects. Concepts are basically comparisons between two objects. And so when you use your hands, it's kind of like a very abstract way of communicating a concept and making it really clear. Because when Italians speak, they want to be very clear. And so they'll put their hands in the air um, to show you this comparison with their hands. And if you actually pay attention to the way that they use their hands, right? Like for example, uh, when an Italian gets really angry, they'll do this, right? They'll pinch their fingers. Um, the pressure between the thumb and the two fingers here communicates severity. So that's what that's about. I always thought that was weird. But as I was saying, the reason why they're so gaudy, the reason why they have this gaudy jewelry is because ask yourself what's important with jewelry. Jewelry is supposed to look spectacular. It's supposed to be brilliant. It's supposed to be flashy. So that's why they wear, gaudy jewelry because they don't care about the details. They don't care about the nuances, you know. And think about this. What's important? Your mother. What's important? Family, good food, dressing nice. So it's not all bad. It means that they have perspective on life. Mm, mm. What else was I going to say? Mm. I think this has some wine in it. It's really nice. I've been doing a lot of cooking lately. I bought some more spices. I really like, I don't know what this is. This is some weird fetish I have. Like, I really like cooking for the woman and giving her massages and writing poetry and, kind of pleasing the woman. And I don't know what that is. I think that's like, that's some sort of mommy thing. So, getting molested. So, a human's a system that wants to reproduce, and as such, reproducing is like the most important thing in the entire world. Now, think about what happens when you reproduce. Your essence merges with another human's essence to create a third, newer essence that you combine with someone else and you carry on through this new and improved self. I think what happens is that when you get raped, it's like it's not only is it physically painful and humiliating, but it's like they're trying to merge their sexual system with your sexual system. Because forget our body, forget our bones, forget our organs, forget all that stuff. We are quintessentially our genes. So that's just think of that as us. The genes are us. That's our sexual system. They have just attempted to merge their sexual system with ours, right? And to create some sort of unwanted hybrid, right? Because you select a mate. You don't just let anybody merge with your sexual system because the whole point of running around this earth, is to find the right um, sexual system to merge with. And so this is an unwanted merger, and that is why it is so traumatizing. Um, when you get raped, from what I've heard, it's sort of like who you are, your essence. It's thrown into question. Um, and so that because think about this, right? Like identity is that which is rare about a thing. It's that which is unique about a thing. So this rareness, this specialness has to be kept secret, and that's sort of why we hide our sexual organs under clothes because it's containing a rare thing, a unique thing. And we're sort of making that thing rare to sort of reinforce our identity. And I remember I talked to this guy who had gotten molested when he was a kid, and he said that it was like him. It was like he had splattered all over the walls. That like his essence, his self, was splattered away, and it never came back. And I think that's because when you get molested, it's the same thing. It's this attempt at a merger. And that attempt at a merger throws yourself into question because now you're this horrible, mutated, monstrous thing. It's like being turned into a werewolf. Well, no, it's not like getting turned into a cool thing. It's like getting turned into something awful that you don't want. This also explains why like casual sex is so dissatisfying. Because I've had casual sex before. Um, it leaves you feeling empty because if there's no love involved, you're creating a really bland merger. So love has to be involved in sexual relationships. Mm. So do you see how Ziff makes it really easy to look at such a complex topic and make it so simple? I have nothing else to say. So you guys have a nice day.